Hi everyone. Betsy, you can see me okay? Yeah. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Money Skills webinar. We're so happy that you're here tonight. I think all of us have got a lot to learn from Betsy. Just a couple of things before we begin. There's so much to cover and we would love to hear your thoughts and questions. Being a large webinar, everyone's mics are muted, but pop any questions in the Q&A section and Betsy's going to try and answer some questions as she goes through. Some of you have submitted some really great questions in the registration form as well. So Betsy's going to try and get to some of them as much as possible. There is a lot of information, fantastic information to go through. This session is going to be recorded and it will be placed on our website either tomorrow or next week. So I'll email everyone and let you know where that's sitting. And that way you can either go back and refresh or you can always forward it on to a friend or someone else that you know. Just moving on to slide 2, the acknowledgement of country. Thanks, Jen. Sorry, we'll just give, that's the one. Thank you. So we acknowledge the traditional custodians in their country. By these words, we show our respect to all Aboriginal people. We acknowledge elders past, present and emerging and the spirits and ancestors of the clans that lived in all of our areas in which we are attending. So, formal welcome to the Money Skills in Real Life webinar presented by Northern Beaches Council. My name's Sasha Lucius. Jen, if we can just have that next slide. That would be great. So my name's Sasha Lucius. I work at Northern Beaches Council. I work in community development, supporting the areas of children and families, youth, and tonight, young adults. The event was strengthened by the support and ongoing partnership between 7 councils in the Northern Sydney regions. And we all felt strongly about providing this information for our communities. Special thanks goes to Jin Chang, that is driving the Zoom bus tonight. So thank you very much, Jin, for doing all things tech for the webinar. I'd also like to welcome councillors present tonight. At the conclusion of the webinar, we'd love to get your feedback. We'll put a link to the survey in the chat at the end of the webinar. So if you could just give us a minute of your time to fill out the survey, let us know your thoughts. That would be fantastic. It helps us continue to do the things that we do. Okay, so thanks, Jen. To the next slide. So in 2023, Council sought the input from over 1,000 young people to inform our Youth Voice Action Plan 2028. It outlined 5 years of actions that support young people to participate in community life. By young people, we usually mean 12 to 24. One of the significant areas identified by young people was the desire to develop greater financial literacy and practical life skills. This priority was also supported by this year's Have Your Say Day survey, and it captured the voices of over 2,300 young people. 606 respondents named the economy as the critical issue directly affecting their lives. Young people aged 18 to 24 ranked it as the top pressing issue impacting them. With these findings, student leaders took to the stage at the event last month and presented directly to local, state and federal decision makers, emphasising the need for real-world preparation, specifically on a curriculum that prepares young people for real-world financial responsibility. As one student leader put it, a branch of economic issues many people face come from a lack of financial education, leading to ill-informed financial decision-making. Thanks, Jen. In 2025, over 17,000 young people took part in the Mission Australia Youth Survey. 64% identified the cost of living as the most important issue in Australia today. Second to that was mental health. And I'm sure we all know that there is a really high correlation between mental well-being and financial well-being. So tonight we're going to do our best to help you have a greater sense of happiness and control of your finances and your life. So tonight's session is designed to provide you with the knowledge to explore your options and think about how you'd like to move forward financially. Please note, it's not financial advice or medical advice. Rather, the content is intended to provide ideas and insights for you to consider. And before I hand over to Betsy, it's my pleasure to introduce Betsy Westcott. Betsy is one of Australia's leading financial wellbeing educators, coaches and media commentators. Working in finance and financial wellbeing for almost 15 years, Betsy has seen how disconnected traditional financial guidance can be from real life. Tonight she's going to walk you through ways to consider your future financial wellbeing. Now I'd like to hand over to Betsy.
Thank you so much, Sasha, and everyone, welcome. I'm so delighted that we've all turned up to level up our money skills tonight. Let me just get my screen up and sharing. I hope you've got you're sitting back, you're relaxed, you're comfortable, and that you're gonna have some fun tonight. Maybe have a glass of something that you enjoy. Maybe a tea, hot cocoa, glass of wine, whatever your vibe is. We are going to kick things off tonight with a very technical question, which is, how do you rate your money game right now? How do your finances feel for you? Pop the number on the chat. You won't be able to see each other's numbers. I'll just kind of call them out. Let us get a bit of a sense of the room. But I want this to be interactive tonight. So pop all your questions in the Q&A. I will answer them. There's nothing that you can't ask me. And yeah, let me know how you're feeling. So I'm getting some twos coming through. A one. I love a one. 2 to 3. We're sitting on the fence. Okay, good. No fours so far, so that's good. This is all looking very positive. 2, 2, and a 3. Okay, very middle ground. Excellent. I feel like this is a strong start for this evening. And I hope you all appreciate my hyper technical scale that we've got going on here. But look, before we dive in, I do need to kind of further what Sasha was saying there, which is that I haven't met you. I haven't had the pleasure yet. I don't know your individual circumstances, your goals, your aspirations. So you're going to hear some great money stuff tonight. And you might hear something and you're like, oh, hot tip, Betsy, let me go away and implement that. And by all means do, but just make sure that it's actually appropriate for your individual circumstances and your goals. And if you're not sure, that's cool. Just get advice from a suitably qualified professional. I am a licensed financial coach, and you can read all about that. Knock yourselves out. It's super fun reading my financial services guide, but you can read all about it on my website if you feel so inclined. As Sasha said, I've been in the finance game for over 15 years. I've got qualifications as a financial advisor, as a money coach, as a mortgage broker. I've run bank branches. I've been a private wealth advisor to in the private banking system, so to very wealthy families and individuals. I've been in the fintech game, launching brand new banks and money management apps. But the stuff I love doing is turning up on nights like tonight and talking to people about your money and how you can use it as a force for good in your life, because money is it's just a tool. It's a resource that we all have access to, and we can use it to build something brilliant when we've got the right skills and aligned goals and aligned actions, or it can be really destructive for us in our lives. Hopefully the former, not the latter for you tonight. And yeah, I work a lot with different organizations doing workshops like this. I work in the media. If anyone watches Sunrise, you probably don't if you're a young person today, but if you ever do, you might catch me on there sometimes as well. Now, you've all turned up here tonight. Why are we here? Basically, I want to help you build some real tangible money skills that will help you build a life that you feel really excited about, that, makes you want to get out of the bed in the morning, that feels rich to you. And I don't just mean in your finances, but rich in the relationships that you have, rich in the health and the well-being that you have, rich in the way that you get to spend your time and in the work that you do. And I think money skills is a wonderful conduit to being able to make that happen. And building this rich life, it's not about, accumulating masses and masses of wealth, and it's not helping you drive wealth maximization. That might be a byproduct, great. But what I'm hoping that this will help you do is create life maximization, create lots of options, lots of agency, lots of freedom for you around how you're going to live and what you want to do. Because, like I said, money, it's just a tool, and it's something that you, when used well, can build some really great and exciting things for you. Now, I work as a money coach, and a money coach, it's not a financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you an exact strategy or what financial investments or products to buy. I'm all about helping you understand your money psychology, why you do what you do with money, get clarity on the life you're trying to build. And I marry that with the strategy and actually teaching you how to money and build those skills and muscles. And my philosophy is that if you can marry that inner clarity around the life that you want to build with financial strategy, that's when you can build a rich life. Now, if anyone is like me, you're like, okay, so what are we covering tonight, Betsy? Where is it going to go? What can I expect? So this is your map, and I will be checking things off as we move through it, so you know how we're tracking. Now, we did send out a workbook that you can download and follow along. I'll be referencing it as we go along. This is yours to keep, yours to reference. So that this is not just a one-off 1 hour session with me, that you've got something you can come back and refer to, and a tool that you can use to keep building those money muscles along the way. So if you don't have a copy of that, if you missed it, just drop me a note in the chat and we'll make sure that we reshare that. We will send it out again after the webinar, but if you want to have it handy, let me know. We'll drop that in the chat for you. Okay, so first question. I know everyone thinks like, okay, we're going to talk about money today, so we're going to talk numbers and investment strategies, but actually I want to talk to you about what goes on up here. And my question to you is, by what age do you think your money mindset is established? So this is the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that you hold about money. Is it A, 5 years old, B, 7 years old? Drop your answer in the chat and I'll have a look at them as they come through. C, 12 years old, D, 17, E, 21. Okay, I've got 1A. Excellent. Someone's asking, can I send the PDFs? I'm going to just upload that while you send through what you believe the answer is in terms of mindset. Oh, I can't upload it. Jin and Sasha, can I ask one of you to drop the PDF of the workbook into the chat for us so people can download it? Thank you so much. Oh, so many
Yes.
answers coming through. Love it. Okay. Someone's saying,
And sorry,
hmm.
Betsy, I'm just wondering the view of your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Got three little tiles. I can see you twice, which is lovely.
Oh. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, cool. View. Oh, yeah, layout. I can fix that. What if I do content only? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
letting me know. Zoom has all these new features. It's getting too fancy for me. I like the OG Zoom. Anyway, going back. Okay, so we've got someone saying A, someone saying B7, E21, someone else says 12. Ooh, a nice array. Okay, well, the answer is actually B, 7 years old. Feels young, doesn't it? If anyone's a parent on here, that can kind of be slightly terrifying. You're like, what am I teaching them? Oh God, I didn't know we needed to have the money chat just yet. But if you are here, maybe you're 19 and you're like not super great with money, congratulations. Technically, it's not your fault. It's your parents' fault. It's all the money lessons, the conversations, the feelings, the tensions around money. You all absorb that at a very young age. And it largely creates these rules, these neural pathways in your brain that tells you what money is, how it works in the world, and how you should react to it. Now, as we go on, we do have new experiences that change the way that we think about money, the thoughts, the feelings, beliefs that we hold to be true about it. But it's largely kind of established by age 7, which is a little bit wild. And that's research from Cambridge University. So, like I said, we all have a money mindset. It is unique to us and our experiences. Uh, it's largely not your fault, but it is your responsibility to change it. If there's aspects that are not working for you, that are not helping you, that might be sabotaging your success. We've just got a note in the chat which says, check your emails for the workbook. Let us know if anyone doesn't receive it, can't find it, we'll sort that out. Now, things that influence our money mindset, 100% family and upbringing. Other things around, like how much education do we get to it? What is our culture around money? Different cultures have really different attitudes to money. Some is very much you need to be financial independent. Some are like it's really rude to talk about money. Some are very open and want to talk about money and like to display money. So that can really influence how we respond and react and value money. And the list goes on. But it's really important to get awareness of your money mindset, because it is largely unconscious, but it's what is driving the way that you behave with money, and your behavior drives your financial outcomes. So if you want to get financially fit, the best place to start is actually to get aware of how you respond to money, the thoughts, the feelings, belief, and how that's impacting what you do with it. So, how do we get this awareness? Now, in your workbook, there is on page 4 some money mindset discovery cards. They're also on my website, betsywestcott.com/resources, which you can download and work through. If you're like, I don't want to fill out a form, Betsy, that's fine. That's cool. Just use my money archetypes quiz, which you can scan the QR code now, and you can just answer some questions on the quiz, and I will send you a personalized report with some insights around what might be your dominant money archetypes. Now, there's 8 money archetypes that I see in clients. It's not a personality quiz. This is not who you are. It's more like there's like 8 actors in a play, and some actors get more speaking lines than others and have a more dominant role in this particular play. So let me introduce you to the characters. Do the quiz. There's also a QR code in the workbook, and you can come and have a little play with that. But number 1 is the innocent. The innocent seeks safety at all costs. They sort of defer to others. They don't really like to look or engage with their finances. The victim is like, things don't work out for me. They live in the past and they kind of blame what happens to them. Life is happening to them. They're not happening to life, if that makes sense. Then we've got the warrior. The warrior like sets out to conquer the money world. They're very goal orientated, action orientated, and very focused on like building their skills financially because they've got a plan and they're going to get there. Then we have the martyr, where they're very serving of others. They want to take care of everyone, but sometimes they take more care of others than themselves, and that builds resentment. We then have the fool. The fool's actually quite fun. Sounds like a bad name, but we all need a little bit of fool because the fool's quite optimistic and brave. The challenge for the fool is that they don't pay attention to the details, and they can kind of be a little bit like a gambler in nature, like, oh, she'll be right, mate. It'll always work out. And then, they find themselves in a bit of a conundrum, unfortunately. We have the creator artist. They have like a love-hate relationship with money. They enjoy it, but they also feel like it distracts them from their bigger work, their higher purpose. So there can be a lot of tension around money. The tyrant uses money to control people, events, and circumstances. And then we've got the money magician who has this beautiful balance between what they can perceive and how they then create it. And it's this nice balance between mindset and mechanics of money. So they're the 8 archetypes, just a bit of a flavor of how you might relate to money. By all means, take the quiz. And yeah, if anyone's like immediately recognizing themselves, feel free to pop it in the chat, tag yourself, tag a mate. Let me know what is resonating with you. But as I said, this is like the foundations of your financial reality. So if you were building a house, this is the ground where, you see all the wires and things laid out. It's not particularly sexy, but it's really important to have strong foundations if you want your financial house to and stand the test of time. And that's why it's really important to pay attention to this and really invest in getting it right. We all have challenging money patterns and belief. Even me, someone who's been working in this field for 15 years, still has to consciously practice managing her challenging money mindsets and patterns. So first step is to create that awareness, and then the second step is to develop practices and skills that help you overcome and cultivate those really positive money mindset patterns. Okay, so we've done that. Mind is in check. Now let's focus on what do you want? Whenever I read, so tell me what you want. I don't know about you guys, but I think of the Spice Girls, but it's probably revealing the fact that I'm a millennial. But there you go. Actually, I met a Spice Girl on Sunrise the other day, and it was like my 10-year-old dreams all came true. Story for another time. But anyway, so second thing you need to do when you're thinking about your money is actually get clear about what is the point. What is the point of earning the money, of spending the money, of saving the money, investing money? What is the life that you're trying to build? And break it down into tangible goals. Now, with your goals, it's really helpful if you can do 3 things. 1, say what it is that you want to achieve. 2, by when do you want to make this happen? And 3, how much money is it going to cost you to make that a reality? Once you've sort of just like brain dumped and written these down, what by how much, what, how much by when, you can kind of categorize them into short, medium, and long-term goals. Here's some examples. These are not a prescription. These are just examples. But spoiler alert, anything that's a short-term goal, you are not going to be investing or buying crypto or any, fandangled things for that. Short-term goals you save for in cash in savings, and we'll explain why when we get into the investing section. But anything that's a medium or a long-term goal, you might use strategies like investing to get you there. So an example of a really juicy, great financial goal is like in this example short term, okay, I need to save $10,000 to buy a secondhand car, and I want to do it by December 2027, which from now is about 18 months away. So you could use a really great tool like the Money Smart Savings Goal Calculator. Money Smart is a website run by the Australian government, Australian Securities and Investments Commission. I love it because it has all these great financial tools and education material, and no one's trying to sell you anything, which is refreshing. So anyway, pop it into there. I want to save $10,000 in 18 months' time. I'm starting from zero. My bank account interest rate is 4%. How much do I need to put away every month? And it will tell you you actually need to put away $538 every month if you want $10,000 in 18 months' time to buy a car. Why is this exciting? It takes like a goal from being oh, I'd like to do this, to being like, I'd like to do this, and here's my game plan, and I'm going to get there, which is way, way more exciting. Now, why do our goals fail sometimes? Basically, sometimes we like go too big. They're like Goldilocks goals, and we actually need to break them down into smaller milestones. I see this all the time when people are like, I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to do it in the next 12 months. And I was like, okay, like, do you have a big deposit ready to go? And they're like, no, I'm starting from zero. And I'm like, okay, we might need to break this one down into milestones. Sometimes they're too vague. People tell me all the time, oh, I just want to save more money. And I was like, how much more money? Like $1? What are we talking about? Because that's easy. And you'd be like, theoretically, you've saved more money, you've achieved your goal. Be specific. Your goals love specificity. Sometimes we adopt goals that aren't our goals. Like we think we want to buy a house, but actually our lifestyle's telling us we want to be nomadic and travel and live overseas. And those two goals can often be in conflict. But we do them because we think that's the smart thing to do. Sometimes we give up too early, and other times we just don't have a good system, a good strategy in place. Like we've got the goal, but no game plan, and thus we don't achieve it. But that's not going to be you because you've turned up here tonight. So, a couple of hacks to really nail your goals. One, visualize it and put that image of what you're trying to achieve somewhere where you can see it every day, because it primes your mind both subconsciously and consciously to just make all these little micro decisions that are going to get you closer and closer along the way. Have milestones, break it into smaller goals, and reward yourself for your progress as well. That's going to motivate you to keep going. Tell people what your goals are. There's nothing like announcing in the group chat that you're going to do something and then being like, oh God, now I've got to do it. um, Add it as the lock screen wallpaper, and also like track your progress and celebrate when you like have a streak going on. There's these great saving apps that will track if you're like how quickly you're getting to your goal. And so you can celebrate those streaks. Cool. All right. So we've done the inner clarity so far tonight. By the way, I should mention I move at a pace. So y'all need to pay attention tonight because we are covering some ground. And if any questions come up as we're going along, do not be shy. Find the Q&A, post it there, or even post it in the chat. I'll see both of them and I will answer them. Make sure you get all the juice you want out of tonight's webinar. Do not miss or waste this opportunity. Okay, so we've done the inner clarity. We're moving on to outer strategy. So make money. Love that. Everyone loves that. You might be someone who's like, I am living my best life, but somehow I feel broke. I'm not like broke, but I'm like high class broke. I'm broke. If that's you, don't worry. We're going to take you from that to feeling a little bit more flush and a little bit more fabulous. Now, the first thing that we want to do is actually understand, where are you with your money right now? What are you earning? What are the things that you own? So that could be cash, it could be cars, it could be investments, it could be property, it could be super, it could be collectibles, it could be crypto, the list goes on. Where's your money going? What are you spending it on? And do you owe any money as well? So this is your go-to tool for understanding your financial position. And it's like, yeah, a selfie for your money, unfiltered. It really tells you the truth of the matter. Your aim is to own more than you owe and to earn more than you spend. They're kind of what you're aiming for here. What this is not, however, is a reflection of your self-worth. So your net worth is not equal to your self-worth. Now, to fill this out, there's see page 9 and 10 of your workbook, and you can actually start jotting this down for yourself. Now, when we talk about getting, financially fit, building money skills, everyone straight away goes to the budget and being like, Betsy's going to tell me that I need to cut out all my coffees and my smashed avo and blah, 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 blah. I'm really not about that. I'm about sustainability. I'm about enjoying today and looking after tomorrow. And where I like to begin is, how can we actually boost your income? That's way more fun. First of all, there's only so much you can cut expenses. Whereas on the income, theoretically, that's unlimited. Like it's as much effort, as creative as you can be, is as much money you can earn. So I've popped in here a number of ways that you can boost your income, from negotiating a bigger salary to upskilling to earn higher wages, to side hustles, to like money hacks. Pick your own adventure, choose your own adventure. The list is also in your workbook, but really ask yourself, how might I increase my ability to earn income? Because with the more income, I have increased capacity to save, to invest, to build my rich life. So that's my question for you. What could you do? If anyone wants to like drop an idea or an inspiration from this list that they're going to implement around how they're going to boost their income, I would love to hear it. I won't name you, but I will share it with the group. Okay, now, whenever you earn income, you are likely to be eligible for income tax. Everyone gets really hung up about tax. Like, oh, I hate tax. And like, look, you wouldn't want to pay more tax than you need to, but think of tax as like the yearly subscription to living in this great country called Australia, and childhood was your free trial version. For my business owners out there, because business owners are always like banging on about tax, tax is your success fee. If you're paying tax, it means you made money, which is means you're ahead of most of the pack. Now, there's a common misconception that you pay a set amount of tax on every dollar you earn, but actually, we operate in a tiered tax system. So, for the first $18,200 you earn every year, that is tax free, my friend. Mwah. Then, after that, it increases proportionally to how much you earn. So, the next 18,000 to 40,000, 45,000, excuse me, is 16%. Then for every dollar above that, it's 30, above that, 37, the list goes on. Now, we are coming up to the end of the financial year, and in the next financial year, this little tax bracket here is actually decreasing. So we're all going to be paying less tax as of the new financial year. That's going to drop to 15% and then 14% the following year. So yeah, life just got cheaper. Yay. And anyone who's got their first job, you can claim the tax-free threshold as long as you fill out your TFN tax declaration. Beautiful. Someone said I'm gonna pick up a second job working at McDonald's. Love that. Yes, good. Also, how good's Mickey D's? Like, it's the employer that everyone has worked at, it feels like, at some point in their life. Now, HECS and help debt. This is a big one. I wanted to call out some things that have really changed around HECS and help debts recently. They've had a little bit of a glow up. So if you've got an existing help debt, then you would have just enjoyed a 20% discount on your HEX debt, which personally I am jealous of because I did not get that on mine. So I've just got a little bit of envy around that. But snaps for you, I'm really happy for you. The one-off 20% gone, wiped off, you don't need to pay it, was applied as of the 1st of June 2025. So love that for you. Also, what's changed is that the threshold of income where you actually have to start paying back your HEX has gone up again. So until you earn more than $67,000 a year, you don't actually have to start paying back your HEX. You can voluntarily if you want to, but you don't have to. And then they've also capped how they calculate the indexation of your tax. It used to always be consumer price index, or in other words, inflation. But now they're going to take either the rate of inflation, compare that to wage growth, and go with whichever is the lower figure, which is a nice little change. It's still a really inexpensive debt by comparison to others. And it's what we deem a good debt because you've used it to buy something that helps you earn more income in theory. So we call it a good debt. Okay, we are powering through this. Yay. How's everyone going? Hope everyone's having fun. Give me like a thumbs up or some sort of sign of life to let me know you haven't lost the will to live. But now we're going to move on to how do you keep money? So we've made money. How do we keep our money? So first of all, we're going to look at debt. So I mentioned it before. There's good debts, they're bad debts. Not all debts are created equal. So characteristics of a good debt, like how do you identify one? First of all, is that they're usually inexpensive. They've got an interest rate less than 10% per annum. And you usually use it to buy an asset, something that grows in value over time. So you might use it to buy property, like a home or a commercial building. You could use it to buy shares in a company. You could use it to fund education. You could use it to start a business, things that usually grow in value over time. Bad debt, on the other hand, is expensive. It's usually got an interest rate of more than 10%, and you use it to buy a liability, something that goes down in value over time. I always say it's like you ate it, you drank it, you wore it, you drove it, you consumed it in some way. You might have traveled there. So it's things like payday loans, credit cards, buy now, pay later, personal loans, and asset leases. And before someone's like, hey, but buy now, pay later doesn't have interest. I know, but you're usually using it to buy something that goes down in value and it's got very high fees. So I classify it as bad debt. Now, someone submitted a question before we kicked off this webinar, which said, is it true the earlier you get your credit card, the better, as long as you're not like overspending on your limit? Now, this is a myth, and it's an American influenced myth. So in America, to build a credit score, you need to borrow money. In Australia, it's not the same. Yes, having a credit in your name, like a credit card or a personal loan, can build up your credit score, saying that you've borrowed money and you've paid it off, but that's not the only way to do it. If you have a post-paid bill, that will improve your credit score. So say you've got a telephone that you've paid off with, I'm just going to pick one like Vodafone, and you've got a post-paid billing cycle and you always pay that on time, that is going to build up your credit score. If you are paying for a utility bill every month, be that electricity or water or internet, that's going to build up your credit score. So it's a little bit of a myth that you need to have a credit card to improve your credit score. Hit me up with any questions if you do. Okay, quiz time again. So let's say Christmas rolls around, it catches you off guard, even though it happens every year, and you're like, eek, I did not put money aside for Christmas. I'm just going to throw it on the credit card. I'm going to spend 2.5 grand, and I'll just make sure I make the minimum repayment and, hunky dory, happy days. If you do the minimum repayment of 19%, how long is it going to take you to pay it off? I want to see your answers in the chat. Is it A, 1 year, B, 5 years, or C, 26 plus years? What are we thinking? Someone's called out 5. I like. Any other thoughts in there? B, B, B. Lots of strong contenders for B. The answer is actually C. I know, shocked. But actually, if you just pay the minimum repayment that they put on your credit card statement, it will take you 26 years. It's probably longer than some of you have been alive to pay it off. And instead of just spending $2,500, it'll actually cost you $9,197. Face palm to the Fed. So my message here is never, ever, ever pay just the minimum if you can afford to pay more, because it's not designed to help you pay off the debt. It's just, it's going to take a long, 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 long time. So in this example, this person's paying off about $50 a month of their debt. Alternatively, if they just increase that to $124 a month, they'd pay it off within 2 years and they would have only spent $2,977. So when you have debts, if you can pay more than the minimum, that means you pay less interest and you become debt-free quicker. Speaking of becoming debt-free, how do you do it? If you're like, okay, I've got a couple of buy now, pay laters, I've got a car loan, I've got the credit card, it's all kind of getting a bit out of control. How do I get on top of my debts? Then we need a bit of a strategy to kind of pay them off, to domino your debts, so to speak. So step 1 is actually write down what debts do you have. And in your workbook on page 11, I've got a little spot for you to do this and write down everything. So buy now, pay later, credit card, personal loan, HEX debt, other loans, IOUs, fines, list them all out. How much do you owe? What's the interest rate? What's the minimum repayment? What's the term? And just kind of get a view of it. Then you need to remove the temptation that got you into the debt. So whether that's a credit card or say like your saved card details, which makes it really easy to like click, click, boom and purchase. Is it marketing emails? Is it like a gambling app? Like what has got you into the situation? And remove the ease in which you can engage with it. Back in the day, we used to say like freeze your credit card, but everything's so digital that doesn't really apply these days. Then you need to make sure you're paying at least the minimum, because you don't want to miss repayments and get a bad mark on your credit score. So making sure you're paying the minimum, and then pick one that you're going to target your spare cash to and focus on paying that one debt off. Once you do that, have a little celebration. Something small though, by the way, like no trips to Ibiza to celebrate. I'm like, get a mani-pedi, go out for ice cream, treat yourself to your favorite movie, a reasonable celebration, and then rinse and repeat until you are debt-free. Now, someone's asked, what is the benefit of having a credit card? Credit cards are a really great way to manage your cash flow. So you might have, expenses coming through every week and so forth, but you only get paid once a month. You might want that pay sitting in a savings account, or you might want it sitting in an offset account if you're a homeowner. So you use your credit card to like accumulate your expenses, but you never spend more than you earn and you pay it off before interest is charged. So it can be a great way to manage cash flow. That being said, for most of us, we're not really good at like sticking to the limit of like what we're supposed to spend and what we can spend. Often the limit on our credit cards like much bigger than our monthly pay. And that's where people get into trouble. It's so convenient to use and it's frightfully easy to overspend. And then that's when you can kind of get in the cycle where the amount that you owe creeps up, you don't pay it off in full, you start earning interest, that happens again, and that's when you get into the debt spiral. So a credit card is great if you are really disciplined with money and you've got a strategy around it, whether it's maximizing your savings or your offset, or you're trying to like drive your points accumulation. But if there is any chance you will overspend and miss making your repayments, just don't do it. Stick to cash. Yeah. Now, if you do have a number of debts, then you should know that you can negotiate. What you can negotiate your interest rate, you can negotiate your fees. Everything is negotiable in banking land. The best thing to do though is to call up with a game plan. So if you say have got a credit card, you might look at like other providers in the market who are offering a similar credit card but a cheaper interest rate. Call up your bank, say, look, I'm a really loyal customer. I'm trying to get on top of my debts. I see that other banks are offering lower interest rates on their credit cards. What can you do to keep me as your customer, but also help me get on top of my debt? They might waive a fee, they might lower your debt. If you find yourself ever in strife around your debts and your spending, don't hesitate to reach out to a financial counselor. We have the National Debt Helpline, fantastic number, 1-800 007 007. It's like James Bond is like coming to sort you out with your money problems. But ring them up. It's a free service and they will help you with your budgeting and negotiating with your financial institutions and anyone that you owe money with, and kind of get you on a payment plan and back on track. It's a really fabulous service. I don't know if anyone's been like this, but I definitely have had that moment where it's like, oh, unfortunately, the stuff I bought online did not buy me happiness, but we're going to conduct this experiment a few more times. Look, it is so easy to spend. It's so fun to spend. Sometimes we all overspend. It happens. Again, as a financial coach, I'm not about like encouraging you to be frugal Freddy sitting on the couch, never going out, never having fun, eating 2-minute noodles. What I aim for is like the balance between living a good life and enjoying today and building a future that's really exciting and going to have a lot more freedom in it. And so it's being really conscious around like where's my money going? Does that align with my values? And what are the leaks, the money habits that I might have that are like eroding my financial future? We've all got a few of them. Some of the biggest ones are like unused subscriptions. The average Aussie in Australia spends $1,200 a year on subscriptions that they're not even using. So that's like an immediate money leak. Food delivery, I know it's convenient and some days you just CBF cooking, but it's a really expensive way to get a meal. Like go do the pickup or, buy a roast chook from IGA or Woolies or something, because there's a markup of 36% on average just on the menu item of the food. And then once you add delivery fees, it can be a markup as much as 60%. So what should be like a $40 dinner suddenly becomes a $63 dinner. It's just a waste of cash. And I don't know about you, but every time I order on Uber Eats, the food turns up cold and it's just kind of like an underwhelming experience. So if you can minimize that, that's a great money leak. There's so many little ways, FOMO, trying to keep up with your friends. Gambling is a massive problem in Australia. Do you know that Australians are the biggest losers per capita for gambling in the world? Like that's a gold medal that we do not want to have, but unfortunately we do. The average Australian adult and this is like all the gambling losses spread over every Australian adult, is $1,600 per year. And it's there, and these apps are designed to just make it small and incidental and gains. Like I was coaching a couple not long ago, and the wife had been on maternity leave and interest rates had gone up, and just like cash was really, really tight. And anyway, we thought it was interest rates and the fact that she'd been on maternity leave. When we got into the numbers, we actually discovered that her partner had spent $60,000 in the last 12 months alone on gambling. And he just thought he was having a cheeky punt, like here, there, everywhere. He didn't realize how big it had gotten. And he was doing it on a credit card, so it was attracting cash rate interest on the card as well. So, it's a prevalent problem in our society. Okay, so we've talked about our money leaks. What we really want to get to a stage is like a real handle on where's our money going, not to judge ourselves, not to shame ourselves, just to have the knowledge because the knowledge is the power. With the knowledge, you can make new decisions, more aligned decisions. So, someone asked on the pre submitted questions, are there any budgeting tools you recommend? So, there's a couple of ways you can get a handle on your spending. You can go old school. If you're someone who loves the spreadsheet, little freak in the sheets, little friend, by all means, download the last 3 months of your banking transactions and categorize them. Build a spreadsheet. Build a spreadsheet. If that reeks of effort, there's absolutely apps for that. Apps designed to analyze your spending in a very secure, safe environment where your data is not being exploited. So, apps like WeMoney, it's a fantastic free app that's really good for getting on top of debt and understanding where you're spending. There's You Need a Budget. This one is a paid subscription, but it's like it's like the elite budgeting app. It's for those that like really like getting into the details. It's really good. Frollo is absolutely free and fantastic for getting insights on your spending. The cool thing about Frollo is if you want to share what's been going on, you can export My Money Passport and like share that with your tax accountant or your financial advisor or your mortgage broker. And they're just to name a few. There's another one called Billroo. That's a paid one that uses AI to analyze your spending. So anyway, if doing a spreadsheet reeks of effort, there's an app for that. When you look at your spending, the way I want you to look at it as like, okay, what is my high priority spending? The stuff that I need to do, non-negotiable, high value spending has to stay. Put a H. Medium spending is like, okay, in a pinch, I could do away with this spending, but it actually brings me a lot of joy. It brings me a lot of value. I actually want to keep it here. And then you've got the low value spending where you're like, oh yeah, I spend money on this and I know I shouldn't. And if I was more organized, I didn't, or it's a bit of a leak, or I just haven't renegotiated my bill. That's your low priority spending. So for me, high priorities like the mortgage, the utility bills. I've got kids, I go daycare and, medicine, stuff like that. High priority. The medium for me is like lifestyle stuff, like the lunches, the brunches, getting my hair done, the fashion. It brings me a lot of joy. If I had to do away with it, I could, but I don't want to. The low priority is like Ubers or not renegotiating my bills or a subscription I haven't used. And they're the ones that I really want to interrogate and get rid of so that I can redirect that money to stuff that's like actually going to help me build my rich life, whether that's saving or going on a holiday or paying down debt or, whatever that is. In your book on page 12, there's a list of these things. You can do it this way, just being like, what are the categories that are high, medium, low? Or you can download my spending planner to analyze your spending, or you can use one of those apps. The step one is like analyzing what spending has happened in the past. The next step is actually to build a future forward looking spending plan. What do you actually want your money to do? And like, what's the spending that's going to be really aligned with your values, really aligned with your goals, going to bring you a lot of joy and actually help you build a future that feels really rich. And that's what you can use the spending planner for. So feel free to download that. It is, what page is it? It's in your workbook. I can't remember the page, but it's in there. Another question that came through was, do you have any tips around managing money with your partner? And this one's a little bit nuanced. It really depends like where you are in your relationship. So if you're like, we've just met, we're dating, we're having fun, this is all, an exploration and it's good times. At this stage of your relationship, you really want to just be observing what is your partner's attitude towards money? How do they talk about it? How do they spend it? Is there alignment between the two of you? And you might have like a joint goal that you work towards, like a weekend away or a holiday or something that you can work on together, but you're largely independent on your finances. Then, when you sort of start moving in together, that's when you might start joining some of your finances. You might have shared bills, and that's a really good conversation of like, how are we going to pay for these bills? How do we contribute to these bills? What's our game plan? When you're getting like fully committed, this is my person, we live together, we might be getting married, we might be starting a family. That's when you need full transparency. I don't mean that you have to merge completely with your finances, but you really need to have an aligned vision of what you're working towards, how each of you contribute, regular check ins around your money, and a bit of a structure. So you might be fully transparent, everything's merged. You might have merged shared expenses around home and bills and kids and stuff like that, but independence around discretionary spending. You might be completely independent and you just like pay each other back. You do you, but the most important thing is that both of you are engaged. The way that you organize money is by design, not by default, and there's really healthy communication around it. Question that we've had come through: how can we manage children's spending? They're not big spenders, but when they get money, they spend it all. Oh, that's a great one. So I don't know how old these kids are. There's a great app called Spriggy, which is really helpful for like pocket money, and you can set goals around how they earn money, and then you can talk with the kids around, here's what's for spending, here's what's for saving, here's what's for giving or investing. Um, okay, 14, so they might have their own jobs. But it's really one, it's about opening the conversation. And often the biggest hesitation, not that I know what your particular situation is we might not feel confident or we might have money behaviors that we don't feel proud of. But really think about, what do I want to impart with my child? What are the skills I want to give them so that they feel really ready for life? And how can I teach them, things like delayed gratification, the value of work, the difference between spending, saving, and investing. And if you can make it fun and relatable, that helps too. I hope that's a helpful answer. Hit me up with more questions though. I love when I get questions. Now, you've analyzed your spending, you've got your spending plan. We need to create a system that's sustainable. And as James Clear says in Atomic Habits, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. So we want to systemize your success around money. So many times when I'm working with people, they'll have like one or two accounts where all their money comes in and goes out. And then they've got this really complicated mental arithmetic, like, in A Beautiful Mind, where it's like, do, 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 do. That's how they manage their money. And I'm like, that sounds exhausting. Like, let's systemize this, get it out of your head. And if we can automate it, so you don't need to think about it. Who's got time to do this kind of maths around their money? Not me, not you. Let's get a good system. So I like having dedicated accounts for different purposes. I've used 4 as an example here. This is by no means a prescription, but I'm just trying to show you a use case of how you might create dedicated accounts for different purposes to make managing your money, knowing what's for what, knowing where you stand, really easy. So 4 accounts you might have. You might have like one account, which is like your financially adulting account. That's where your bills, your fixed expenses come out. So it might be like mortgage, rent, subscriptions, medical expenses, like whatever those are going to be for you. That's them. And they're like really fixed and predictable. And so you can go, okay, this is all the expenses that come out of this account. I put a certain amount of money in every month, and that covers that. I know that I've like paid my bills, I've adulted, I'm good. It's usually a transaction account linked to a debit card, so you can set up your direct debit payments for all your bills and you don't have to think about it. You're like, no, I've got them covered, I'm good. Then you have a separate account for things that are more discretionary, more flexible. I call it the fun money account. Call it whatever you want. I hope everyone knows you can nickname your accounts on banking. Heaps more fun being like, hey, it's my fun money. Here's my adulting, than just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 account. Boring. Give your money a bit of personality. So your fun money is the one that you use for discretionary spending, for going out, for buying the clothes, that kind of stuff. It's usually a transaction account, also linked to a debit card. And you allocate a certain amount per pay cycle that you get to spend out of there. Hot tip, when the fun money runs out, stop spending until next pay cycle. Don't be stealing money from your other accounts. That's when you break the system. Then you have your savings account. So emergency savings are just your like ride or die friend of your financial world, there to get you out of a tight spot, to solve a sticky situation. So you have money set aside purely to deal with emergencies. When that account is fat and juicy and feeling comfortable, that's when you start working on your goals, whether that's a saving goal or an investing goal. But you always want to prioritize having a financial cushion, having emergency savings. In fact, if you define financial well-being, you basically do it at 3 levels. Level 1, I meet my day-to-day needs. Level 2, I meet my day-to-day needs and I have money to withstand a financial shock. Level 3, day-to-day needs, financial shock, and I can put money towards my goal. If you can do all those 3 things, I want you to like reach out your arm, bend your elbow, pat yourself on the back because you have financial well-being. So I've given an example here of like if you were earning $4,000 a month, how might you delegate your income across the accounts, which is okay. You have $4,000. You might put 2,000, 50% to adulting, 1,200, 30% to fund money, and then 20% to building up your emergency savings. Now, in the financial world, we sort of say if you've got $1,000 in emergency savings, that's $1,000 between you and a problem. Good place to be. Better than 2/3 of Australians, actually. Ideally, you want to build up 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in there. So if you were someone who earned $4,000, you might have $12,000 to $24,000 of living expenses. How much you need in emergency savings will vary depending on your level of financial independence and who's dependent on you. So when I was like younger, in my 20s, single, ready to mingle, I didn't really need as much emergency savings as I do now as a mum with 2 kids and a business and a mortgage to run. So, be discerning, have a chat to a professional around what might be a suitable level for you. But the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And I've just got to reply to a message. Yes, I did. Okay, cool. Now, a little activity for you tonight, maybe something you want to do, is actually just to reflect on what accounts have you got and what's their purpose? What might you add to the mix to help you manage your money with more ease and more grace? That's on page 13 of your workbook as well. I've talked about the emergency funds. It's your financial ride or die friend. Everyone's got a ride or die friend. Like it's like your mate who's always got your back, always there to get you out of a tight spot, to save your bacon when you need it. This is the money version of that. Like something bad happens, throw money at the problem. That's your emergency funds account. You can call it emergency funds, oh my gosh account, rainy day funds. I've had other people call it the FR fund. Whatever you want to call it, just make sure that you have one. That's it. Now, quick question. I want to see your responses. What do you think your biggest asset is? What is your biggest asset outside of your charming personality and good health, obviously? Anyone want to throw an idea into the ring? Hopefully I haven't lost you all and you haven't lost the will to live. How's my numbers going? Oh no, you're all still there. Okay, well, Someone said house. Yeah, that's a very common answer. Actually, on my WeChat account. Super, yes, another good one. It's actually your income, artworks, furniture, jewelry, all really good answers. But I want you to think about your ability to earn income, particularly as a younger person, but really for everyone. This doesn't really change as you get older, like a fine wine. So when you think about it, your ability to earn income kind of funds everything else. It kind of keeps the music playing, the show on the road. If that tap gets turned off, you might have some savings to live off. You might be able to go live with a friend. But after a while, stuff gets tricky quick, doesn't it? And so what I often talk to people about, particularly younger people or anyone who's got financial responsibilities, is think about protecting your income. Because if you're 25 years old today and you're earning $60,000 a year, if I just assume that you work from now to 65 years old and you earn a 3% pay rise, your income is actually worth $4.5 million. Ain't no small thing, right? And if you had like a $4.5 million house or artwork, you'd be insuring that, you'd be protecting it. And that's what you want to do for your income. So income protection is one of the personal insurances that you can take out. It's pretty cheap when you're young, gets more expensive as you get older. And basically, it protects your income in the event that you become too sick or too injured to work. The average Aussie has a 1 in 4 chance of claiming against this, of needing this before age 65. And what happens is you see out like a short waiting period, usually like 30, 60, 90 days after an event happens. And then this insurance kicks in and starts paying you an income till you get better and can go back to work. The other cool thing about income protection is that it's actually tax deductible because the government's like, you're protecting your ability to earn income and thus pay taxes. You can have a discount for that one. That's fine, as long as you hold it in your personal name. Anyway, if you're interested in setting up your personal insurances, chat to an insurance broker or a financial planner. You probably just need an insurance broker who specializes in that, and they can help you work out what types of insurances you need based on your situation. Generally speaking, if someone who's working but don't have any dependents, income protection will be good. You might need a little bit of life and TPD. As life gets more real, as you get more responsibilities, then things like life and TPD become more critical. So in my 20s, I was like all about the income protection and the trauma insurance. Now that I'm a mom with 2 kids and a mortgage and all that stuff, I've also got the life and TBD because I've got people that I need to provide for if something happens to me. But then as the kids become less dependent and my mortgage hopefully gets paid off, I won't need as much insurance. So it's really an ebb and flow on these kind of things depending on where you are in life. The other things you want to think about is like actually writing a will. You might be like, Betsy, I'm young and beautiful. I don't need a will. But everyone needs a will. Even if you don't think you have a lot of assets, you've probably got super, you might have a car, stuff like that. And if you don't write a will, your family, who will be reeling and grieving the loss of the magnificent person that is you, will then have to front up to the Supreme Courts, apply for your letters of administration, and go through all this stuff to actually be able to deal with your estate. Don't do that to them. Write a will. It's pretty straightforward. You can do it with the post office. You can do it with the trustees. You can do it with like online services like Willed, or you can go and see an estate planning lawyer. The other thing to think about is that your superannuation balance, which is one of the biggest assets most of us have, does not form part of your will. So that's why they ask you to nominate a beneficiary who gets this money if you die. Now, if you don't nominate someone, the super fund decides where it goes. And they kind of decide just based on a random set of rules like, are you married? Do you have kids? Who's related to you? It's much better if you decide where your money goes. So that's why you want to nominate someone on your super. Okay, one little bit to go. Please keep coming through with your questions. I love them. But we are on to the final stretch, which is actually how do we grow money? So we've made money, we've got our head sorted, we've made money, we've kept some money. Now we're going to go to the growing bit, my favorite bit. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between saving and investing. Most of us get taught how to save money. Like, we earn so much, we spend a little bit, we keep some, we put it in an account, which is fine. But then we don't get that lesson, which really accelerates wealth, which is how do you grow money through investing. Now, saving has its place. It is fantastic for short-term goals because, when you're putting it in a savings account, it's going to earn some interest, it's going to go up in value, but it's readily available. It's what we in the finance world call liquid, meaning it's available for you to spend. It's in cash. And it's great for things like your emergency funds or going on a holiday or buying a car, or if you're very close to purchasing a home, you want that money ready available so you can put the deposit down when you're ready to go. Um, that's what cash savings are really good for. Anything that's like stuff you want to do in 1 to 4 years, savings, great. Anything that's like further away, it's a longer term goal, then things like investing in assets that go up in value and produce income, is going to create more wealth for you, and help you, build wealth, build a long-term home deposit, help you finance property, help you fund retirement, help you achieve financial independence. But because markets go up and down, you want to have a long, what we call a time horizon, or a long time between when you invest and when you actually need the money, so that it can ride out that market up and down volatility, we call it, and be there and valuable when you're ready to go. I do like a whole course on learning how to invest strategically and successfully. I'm giving you like this much of it tonight because I'm trying to cover lots of things. But if that's something you're interested in, connect with me and I can direct you to some great resources there. Now, why do we invest? Well, there's this little thing called inflation. About 8 years ago, when I was running these courses, I'd have to explain inflation. I feel, thanks to the pandemic, everyone understands inflation. Just in case we don't, let me recap. So I give you $100 tonight. You're welcome. Good times. And you're like, do I go to my favorite store and buy myself $100 worth of goodies? Be that clothes, be that fashion, all of those things. Or do I do what feels really smart and put it in my savings account? And so if you went down to the store today, you've got $100, you can buy $100 worth of goodies. If you put it in your savings account for a year, you might earn 4% interest. You will pay tax on the income. Taxman's always there. So actually, at the end of 12 months, you have $102.80, assuming your tax rate's 30%. And in the meantime, inflation is at 4.5%. So what you can buy for $100 today, you need $104.50 in 12 months' time. So what happens? Well, basically, inflation is shrinkflation for your savings. You actually have less buying power by waiting a year because of inflation. So this is why cash isn't always king. It's great for short-term goals and stuff. But when we think about growing our wealth, growing our buying power, growing our choices for the long term, then we want to look at investing as the tool that's going to get us there. And a good example is if hopefully all of you were born in 2000, but I recognize that probably not all of you will. But say I gave you $10,000 back in the year 2000, and you either A, left it under the mattress, B, put it in the bank, or C, invested it in shares, what would it be worth today? Under the mattress, you still have $10,000, but it doesn't buy you what it used to. If you put it in the bank, you'd have 26,165. But if you invested it in shares, you'd have almost 8 times as much money at $81,501. Now, this is based on the cumulative growth across these asset classes over the last 26 years. And I'm assuming that you reinvest the interest and the returns on your money. But yeah, this is why cash isn't always king. This is why we want to invest for long-term wealth creation. And the biggest reason is compound returns. So when we don't spend our money and we invest it in something that goes up in value and pays us income, and then we reinvest that income, then where the next year we have more money invested, we earn more income, and the next year we have more money invested, we earn more income, and so on and so forth. And what starts out as small gains really gains momentum over time, and becomes something really powerful. Um, Green asked, well, sorry, someone asked, would you recommend investing if you have a home loan? Oh, such a good question. Really comes down to your goals, and it comes down to what you're investing in, because your home loan is costing you interest. And so is the cost of the home loan less than what you're getting on your investment? But also, how does this fit into your long-term goals? Like if you have a goal of, I want to own my home outright before I retire, it might make sense to prioritize paying out your home loan. This is a great scenario to actually meet with a financial advisor and get them to model out the two scenarios and the tax implications for you so you can make a really informed and aligned decision on that one. There's some great podcasts where people analyze these scenarios. And again, if you get in touch with me, I can send you some of those, but perfect question for a financial advisor, that one. Now, what does it take to have $1 million? So, for those of you that are on the call that are younger, you actually have a superpower, and it's called time, because you only need to do a little bit with your money consistently over time to actually achieve huge results. So, for example, in this scenario where someone wants to have $1 million and they've got a long time horizon, they're like, by the time, if I'm 20, by the time I'm 50, I'm happy to have $1 million. If they just invested $640 a month, they'll hit $1 million in 30 years' time, assuming a return of 8.4%, which is the average share market return in Australia for the last 20 years. But they will have only invested 230,000. The rest, $769,000, will be like the free money that they earn from compound returns. Versus someone who's like, okay, I want $1 million, but I want it in 10 years' time. That's cool. You can do it. It'll mean that you need to put away $5,369 every month, invest it in the same investment. And in that time, you will invest $644,000 and your returns will be $355,000. So can you see how when you've got a long time horizon, doing a little bit regularly creates these great results? This is why we call it the seventh wonder of the world. Now, how do you get started in investing? I've put some checklists in your workbook on pages 16, 17, and I think actually 18. And like I said, I've got a whole course on this. There's some amazing resources out there, which I talk about at the end of this tonight. But the first thing is that you want to get educated around the foundational concepts of how do you invest, how do you build an investment strategy. You do not need to be a rocket science, the Wolf of Wall Street, or anything special to build a really good investment strategy. Literally, if you got through grade 5 math, you have all the smarts within you. But you've just got to learn the foundational concepts. They're not hard, but take the time to learn it, because most people want to skip that part and they're like, just randomly buy some shares or randomly buy some crypto, but there's no strategy, there's no reasoning behind it. And that's where they usually fall apart, or the strategy doesn't do what they want it to do. So Big Sister Betsy says, go learn the foundational concepts. It won't take long, and that will put you on a path to be a really successful investor. So get educated, do your research. What kind of investments will help me achieve my goal? And then you start building your investment portfolio. Now, there's a couple of pathways that you can get started investing. You can do what we call buy direct. So you can go buy some shares, you can buy a property, you can have a term deposit or bonds. That's often tricky for a first-time investor, because the barrier to entry, to be able to get started, is often quite high. So, shares, you often need $1,000 to buy a parcel of shares. Property, well, we know what property prices are. Term deposit is often $5,000. Bonds, you need $500,000 to buy a straight up bond. So it can be tricky. What most first time investors do is they buy what's called a fund. So if buying direct is buying like individual chocolates, like your Cadbury Dairy Milk and your Cherry Ripe and your Crunchy, buying funds is like buying the box of chocolates. You get a flavor of everything all in one purchase. So this could be things like exchange traded funds, a managed fund, or micro investing apps, which is a great way to be able to like practice investing with only a small amount of money, like $5, $10, and so forth. So a lot of first time investors do that. If you're like, I do not trust myself to do this, I'm feeling really nervous, or if I've got complex stuff, like for example, someone's like weighing up, do I invest or do I pay off my home loan, which is going to get me to my goal quicker, most tax effectively? That's when you want to get advice from an advisor. There is an in between, which is the robo advisor, which is better for just straight investment advice, where they will ask you what your goals are, get you to do what's called a quiz around how comfortable and confident you are with investing, and they'll recommend investments for you. They'll do the pick and mix on your behalf. Um, I mentioned it earlier. These are the kind of funds that first time investors often invest in, and even experienced investors. I've been investing for 15 years and I still use funds. I love funds. So you've got managed funds. So that might be like what's an example of a managed fund? BlackRock, MLC, Vanguard. These are not recommendations, by the way, just trying to name some to give you an idea. Exchange traded funds, you would go like iShares, Vanguard, yeah, the list goes on. Micro investing apps, their examples of them are like Spaceship, ComSec Pocket, Raise are examples of micro investing apps. And then robo advisors, you've got InvestSmart and StockSpot are some of them. So yeah, they're the ones that you'd kind of want to check out. And micro investing apps are really fun because, for example, with Raise, you can like link it to your everyday transaction. So you buy a coffee for 4.50 and you put a roundup on it. So 50 cents from every purchase brings it to like in that, sorry, let me say that again, a roundup to the nearest dollar. So if it was 4.50, 50 cents would then get rounded up and put in your investment fund. And like, you know, every little bit is getting invested and growing for you. So that can be a great way to do it, build your knowledge, build your confidence, build your wealth until you're ready to do something more direct, like buying funds and ETFs yourself. Now, who on here is an investor? You won't see each other's answers, but like who's like, yep, actively investing, this is me. Anyone wanna throw their hat in the ring? Okay, everyone's feeling a little bit gun shy. Well, congratulations, you're actually all investors. If you have a super fund, you're an investor because super is your money and it's money that is diverted every time you get paid and put in an investment fund where it can grow and compound and fund your lifestyle in retirement. And so many people are like, oh, why do I need super? Like, I'll just get the pension. Pension in Australia is like $24,000 a year. I don't know about you guys, but this does not happen for $24,000 a year. So I want to be a self-funded retiree and live my best life sailing the Mediterranean with my girlfriends in retirement. And that's why we have super, because we're not really good at saving for things. But now that they've made it compulsory, we have like one of the best retirement plans and like sovereign wealth funds in the world. So why do we love super? First of all, 12% of your ordinary time earnings gets paid into it every 3 months at a minimum. But as of 1st of July, every time you get paid, money will be going into your super, getting invested and growing. It's actually a really tax efficient way to build wealth. So a dollar of super pays a 15% tax rate or 15 cents on the dollar, whereas like a dollar you earn in your personal name, if you're at the 30% tax rate or the 45, then more of that gets taken in tax. So in terms of building wealth, it's a really efficient way because more is getting invested, more is staying in your pocket, so to speak, and compounding and growing. Um, it allows you to retire independently. And if you're someone who's like, I really care about the world and I want to support ethical funds, you can choose how your super is invested. You can choose to only invest in ethical funds and industries. It's a really great way to kind of support building the world that you want to see with your money, which is kind of fun. Now, you might think, okay, but like, how do I build my super up? You know, people talk about putting extra money in. Does that really make a difference? And in this scenario, I've got someone who's 25, earning $65,000 of income, and they choose to put an extra just $30 a week into super. And over the course of their life, that makes a meaningful difference to their final balance. So this is their final balance, which is going to show me the number. It's like 900,000 versus, oh, it's not highlighting for me. I should have written it down versus like 750%. Basically, that extra $30 a week made them 27% richer in retirement and boosted their balance by 194,000. So every little bit counts. I did this all through my 20s, knowing that like in my 30s, I'd probably have a career break and have kids and not be contributing to super. And I have double the super of my partner who's earned a similar wage to me purely because of what I did with salary sacrificing in my 20s, even though I've had a career break. So it's really effective, is all I'll say. Okay, let's talk about home ownership. This is the big one, getting a home to live in. Now, let's talk about the different pathways of finding a place to live and the pros and cons, because a lot of people are like, oh, rent's dead money. There's nothing good about renting, but there is. So, you know, in renting, you've got flexibility to move around. You don't have to pay the maintenance bills and you can, you know, up and go whenever you want. And so, as long as you're actively building wealth in another asset, there's nothing wrong with renting. The problem is if you rent but you don't actively redirect funds to another wealth accumulation, that's where you sort of miss that opportunity to build equity, and so forth. Owning a home, you've got that stability, you get to build wealth through your home, you've got control around what you want to do with it. If you want to paint it a funny color, you can. Does have some pretty big upfront costs, does have lots of ongoing maintenance costs. About 1% of the value of your home is what you should budget for maintenance every year. And if you need cash, you can't just sell off a little bit of it. You can't just sell the garage or sell a kitchen. You got to sell the whole thing. Rent vesting is the strategy where you rent where you want to live and then buy a property where you can afford. There's pros and cons, like you've got the responsibilities of being a landlord and you don't get that capital gains tax exemption of it being your home, but it can be a good way to like get into the property market and build some wealth without, particularly if the market that you're living in is unaffordable. Now, I got a question that was pre-submitted. I'm 24 and I've been working full time for over 5 years now. I feel that I have a 20% deposit for a house unit and would like to know who should I talk to first about guiding the next steps in the process? Is it a broker? Is it the banks? Is it a financial guide, coach, advisor? And should I shop around to make sure I'm not being taken advantage of as a young person? Great question. So, first step, you've already done, build up a deposit. This is the roadmap for buying a home. Second step is getting your pre-approval. This tells you what you can afford to buy and what loan you can afford to repay. Now, going to your bank, they'll only be able to advise you on what their lending criteria and the bank loans that they have is available. Whereas what most people have found is that when they go to a mortgage broker, they can look at what all the different banks on their lending panel are offering, what their different criteria is, and help you find the right lender to give you the loan that's going to meet your needs. So most people will go to a mortgage broker. You could talk to a financial planner about like when you buy this home, your strategies to pay it off. A financial advisor won't help you getting your loan pre-approved. With that pre-approval, you can then go start shopping and looking at what home you want to buy. If you then bid at an auction or put in an offer, another successful bidder or successful offer, You'll then have an exchange. With that exchange, it means that you're the buyer, you pay your deposit, and then there's like a 4 to 6 week settlement period. Could be longer, could be shorter, but the typical time frame is 4 to 6 weeks. And in that time, you get ready to move in, you get your bank loan ready to be paid out for the property. You set up the utility bills, you arrange the moving costs, and then on the settlement day, you pay your money to the person that you're buying it from, and they give you the title or give the bank your title to the property. And then after that, it's all about just paying it off. Now, the reality is that saving up to buy your first home does take more time. It is absolutely a marathon, not a sprint. It took me 8 years to save my first home deposit, just chipping away at it. So this is what they say, based of data from 2025, for a couple earning the average wage, how long it would take them to save a deposit for an entry level home or an entry level apartment in the various capital cities. So it's a marathon, not a sprint, unless you get gifted a deposit. But what can you do to boost your home deposit? There are some government grants available. So you've got the 5% deposit scheme. So you save up 5%, and assuming you can afford to repay the 95% home loan, then they guarantee the loan for you. You've got the first home super saver scheme, which is an efficient way to build up your home deposit in a low tax environment. You can save up to 50,000 within the super saver scheme. You've got first homeowner grants in New South Wales. So if you're buying a new build that's worth less than $600,000, the government will give you $10,000 towards the purchase. And then if your home that you're buying, whether it's new or established, is under $800,000 and you're a first home buyer, you don't pay any stamp duty. And if it's between 800 and a million, you get a discount on your stamp duty. So they're some of the ways that you can kind of get into the market quicker. Those change regularly, so always check the government websites. Guys, we've made it through in time, 8:27. Please let me know if there are any final questions before we go. Whilst you're writing them, where do you go from here? It's so good to turn up on what night is it? Thursday night, and learn these things, but the magic happens when you take action. So some things you might want to do is, someone said, can we go back to the previous slide? Yes, absolutely. I'm thinking it's this one. That you want, which is the home deposit boosters. By the way, this is on page 20 of your workbook. So don't feel like you need to take notes. It's in the workbook. Sorry, that slide. Okay, if you have any questions on this is all the things we've covered tonight. We've been on a journey, we've worked it this Thursday. I hope you've all had fun. Where do we go from here? Make a date with your money. There's that saying where focus goes, energy flows. When you pay attention to your money and you take care of your money takes care of you. So make a date. You might want to build a bit of an A team around you. So that might be a financial coach like myself to help you master the mindset and the mechanics of money, a financial advisor to give you strategic advice. You might need a mortgage broker to help you get a loan. You might need a insurance broker to get your insurances set up. You might need a solicitor to facilitate your property transaction or write your will. There's a plethora of people, but don't feel like you need to be the expert. Find people that can help you. It could just be your really savvy bestie who you meet and talk with about money and you learn stuff together. That works too. Make the most out of technology. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you some tools that money savvy people like to use, whether that's managing and tracking your money or finding better deals. There's so much out there. And please, 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 please keep learning and make money fun. So anytime you're sitting down with your money, treat it like a self-care practice, nice environment, nice drink, nice reward, something like that. But make it fun. Now, I'm going to hand back to you, Sasha, but just quickly, Money management apps, we've got WeMoney Follow Finder. If you want to get cash back for your spending, Shopback, Kickback, Grow My Money is my favorite because you can direct the cash backs to not only a savings account, but you can put it in your mortgage and pay off your loan faster, or you can put it in your super and grow your wealth faster. Petrol Spy for finding the cheapest petrol. Too Good to Go for finding cheap food. My friend has teenage boys, and she always uses Too Good to Go to get like what Baker's Delight is throwing out, and she's like got ways to feed them because they're like a locust in a kitchen. First Table and Happiest Hour and eClub for discounted dining. Switch and Save to find better electricity deals, and Money Smart, as I said, is amazing. And if you want to stay in touch with me, this is where you can find me. Over to you, Sasha.
Betsy, I cannot believe that you were able to get through so much. Amazing. And I really want to be friends with you to keep having these discussions.
Anytime.
So
I'm here
thank
to
you.
help
Thank you.
out.
Yeah. Um, so thank you, Betsy, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It's been amazing, and I am personally going to go and have a look at this recording whenever I'm able to put it on the website. So once again, I will email you all when it's up and live. Jen has just put in the chat the link to the survey, so if you could just spend a minute filling out the survey, that'd be really great. I've just made it a really basic one, so much appreciated. Thank you once again, Jen from Coringo Council, for doing the tech, and thank you all for coming. All right, have a great night. Thank you.